This is the story of Jacqueline Paulette Drouilly and Marcelo Eduardo Salinas Eitel, a young couple in Chile. Jacqueline's parents moved to Temuco in 1949. Jacqueline, their first child, was born in December 1949, a beautiful and smiling baby who would grow up spoiled by both parents. Seven years later, the first sister is born, and then another. A few years later, the last daughter is born. In this photograph, Jacqueline is with her sisters, Michelle and Nicole. Here we see Jacqueline with her first sister, Michelle. The Drouilly daughters were always very close to each other. Their childhood was happy. Here the mother took this snapshot of the girls with their father. An early card game used by Jacqueline and then by her sisters. The Drouilly family always saw themselves as one unit. This is an early Christmas card sent to friends and relatives. Jacqueline started school very young. She was enrolled at the German school. This is one of her school notebooks. Jacqueline and her sisters were brought up in Temuco in a tradition of respect for the indigenous Indian Mapuche population. And they were taught never to accept the discrimination these Mapuche Indians suffered. Her parents bought her an Indian satchel for school, in which Jacqueline proudly carried her books. Jacqueline became a lively and confident young woman, extremely popular with her friends and dearly loved by her sisters and parents. Jacqueline loved to party. Here she is with one of her friends. 2 years before finishing secondary school, Jacqueline asked her parents to move her from the German private school to the state secondary school. She didn't like to be surrounded by privileged students, and she preferred the buzz of real life that she knew she would experience in the state school. Jacqueline and Marcelo met for the first time at the end of the 60s in Temuco. Marcelo came home to one of Jacqueline's mother's cultural evenings. It was here that he first set eyes upon Jacqueline. Jacqueline became part of Marcelo's family, and a close relation developed between Jacqueline and Marcelo's mother, Jenny, and also Marcelo's siblings, Anita and Peter. Here she is with Peter. Marcelo's mother gave her a suede coat. Later on, Jacqueline gave this same coat to Nicole, her sister, who has kept it till now. Jacqueline always loved embroidery. Jacqueline inherited a rose-coloured cashmere sweater from one of her friends and then passed it on to her sister Nicole. The worn-out jumper was saved. One sleeve is with Michelle and the other with Nicole. Jacqueline is shown here at an art exhibition in which her mother had some art pieces on show. Here is Jacqueline on one of her trips to Temuco, attending a wedding in the company of her father. Jacqueline starts university. She decided to become a social worker as she believed that she had a duty to improving the living conditions and opportunities for the forgotten Chileans, the poor. Here is one of Jacqueline's notebooks from the university. There are some descriptions of social research, and the last pages show her playful nature with hearts and messages referring to Marcelo. During her first year at university, Jacqueline went with her course to Bolivia. It was the first time that she'd left Chile. She came back marvelling at the richness of Bolivian culture, but also highly moved and disturbed by the overwhelming poverty she perceived there. Jacqueline decided to move to Santiago with Marcelo, that she didn't want to continue with her social work studies. She was increasingly of the opinion that poverty and deprivation could only be solved by the creation of large social and political change. Jacqueline decided that she'd like to study drama. She started at the University of Santiago at the School of Theatre. The family in Temuco moved house. Jacqueline would often visit her sisters and family. These were happy times for her sisters when Jacqueline was around. Marcelo was politically involved in MIR, the movement of the revolutionary left in Chile. Jacqueline also became involved. Very quickly, the left-of-centre parties, from liberal all the way to the revolutionary left, began accumulating popular support. This resulted in a popular unity, a coalition of political parties. The president who was elected was Salvador Allende in 1970. As society begins to crumble and fall apart in Chile, the wonderful and interesting times of the popular unity are now at an end. The profits from economic exploitation are to be protected. The rich and powerful have no intention of sharing these profits with the poor, and the reign of terror is unleashed upon the Chilean people. A cruel and bloody military coup succeeds in restoring the status quo. Thousands of people were arrested, tortured. Hundreds were murdered. Concentration camps were established to keep thousands of people in detention. The detainees were often left without food, water, or clothes. Sessions of torture were routinely carried out. Summary executions often took place, and people were arrested and disappeared, their whereabouts unknown to their families and friends. Jacqueline decides to resume her social work studies. She enrolls at the University of Chile in Santiago. Jacqueline and Marcelo married in August 1974. It was a simple, informal ceremony in a home they shared with Anita, Marcelo's sister. Jacqueline's family travelled to Santiago for the occasion. To avoid detection and arrest by the secret police, Jacqueline and Marcelo decide to move to the flat of a social work student. They considered this to be a much safer location. That morning, the security police took Jacqueline and later Marcelo to a known secret detention center called José Domingo Canas. There were numerous testimonies and reports